From people who probably had nothing to do with snakes on a plane, I present to you Cage on a Boat. Because reading the tagline for this film, I thought this was checking boxes on the B-movie list checklist that I didn't even know existed. I mean, you have Nicolas Cage, sadly acting for once instead of just caging out.
Scraping at the door! Scraping at the door!
Playing the Great White Hunter whose ship full of animals is commandeered to take an assassin back to the US. Things go south and now he has to deal with a ship full of trapped civilians, US troops, a highly trained assassin, and a boatload of terrible CGI. Sorry, I mean released animals. Plus, the whole thing is directed by a former stuntman. I mean, yes, his most recent credits might be Resident Evil Retribution, 2011's The Three Musketeers, and 2010's Cats and Dogs The Revenge of Kitty Galore, but I give every film a chance on its own merits. It just doesn't seem to have that many. Like I said, Cage is actually acting this film instead of going through sets like a student through 3 drinks. The assassin, Kevin Durand, you've seen him and stuff but never bothered to find out who he is trying his hardest to be this uncaged psychotic killer. But he's just not given either the dialogue to work with or the actors miscast. Think of Steve Buscemi in Con Air for what this character was supposed to be. It's a shame, as had the actors been reversed, Cage in the villainous role and someone else in Cage's role, and the dialogue tweaked slightly, then this film could have worked, as outside of the first Alien and Predator films, I can't think of any films where we're expected to root for the group as opposed to the individual. That really worked for me. I mean, it's novel and I'm quite a fan of novelty. Besides, filling the ship with animals to be released and add to the chaos seemed to be a stroke of genius. I mean, you've not only got to deal with a crazed killer, but lions and tigers and bears. Except they haven't got to deal with lions and tigers and bears, oh my, because the animals were treated as plot points. I mean, they did score some kills, including one that I didn't buy in any way, shape or form, but firstly, they were of such bad CGI and the camera work so bad, I half expected the film was meant to be released on Sci-Fi instead of released straight to DVD in my local Tesco's, which it's a shame, as robbed of that unique selling point, the film just became, well, highly generic and almost no fun to watch. I mean, yes, there was the odd moment of promise and there weren't any deal breakers, but you didn't have a moment where our killer uses a poisoned dart frog or releases an American crocodile. I mean, yes, there is a jaguar, but that's not really used except as a plot device, and the film barely seems to have the energy to use the 2 venomous snakes it has beyond a resigned shrug. And the monkeys. Really terrible looking monkeys. Besides that though, and for obvious reasons, the vast majority of our characters are literally described in one sentence, and even when one sounds really interesting, one character is on the run after being accused of killing a man in Jamaica, but they don't really serve to do anything beyond die and say things like, how are we going to get out of this? We're all going to die. So on and so forth. You could swap them out with a Solendon, a venomous nocturnal burrowing insectivorous mammal, and I doubt I would have noticed. And to do that to Famke Janssen!
This time, Mr. Bond, the pleasure will be all mine.
That takes some serious doing. Oh, and remember a few paragraphs ago when I said the director used to be a stuntman? Well, there aren't any stunts of note or interest, the kills aren't fun to watch, there's no moment where our villain seems to be threatened or frightened or vulnerable, and Cage is, I think, meant to be playing a jerk with a hidden heart of gold. Well, he definitely hid that heart well, and as a result, I was struggling to find someone to root for. Also, the film seems to have tried to have some sort of conspiracy come out of nowhere during the last third, but it made very little, if any, sense and didn't really add anything to the film, and I won't mention it again. So, yeah, Primal has a great idea, good actors, a great setup, but at its core then, there's just not much there. It squanders its USP, wastes its actors, has frankly terrible fight choreography, never quite gets its plot together, uses terrible CGI, and just comes across as dull, uninteresting, and flat. If you're after a film that uses asymmetrical warfare, then check out the original Alien and Predator films. Not Alien vs Predator though, that one sucks. So I definitely think that you should skip it, but what do you guys think? And what is your favourite film where you're expected to root for the group rather than the individual? Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, it's been a Donkey. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.